All right, picking up where we left off, limiting mobility. That's some pretty common sense stuff, so let's keep going. It also limits ideas, not just moving of people, but people can't take with them goods. What do we mean by goods? Things that you buy and sell. If I'm making clothes, if I'm making food, if I can't move those things, that's going to make it hard for people to live in certain areas. And if I am making those things and I want to try to sell them to finance my house and to pay for things so I can support my family, I need to be able to get those goods to other people. The landscape is going to get in the way, and that's going to say, well, I would like to live in that area and I would like to make shoes over here, but if I make my shoes, how am I going to get them to people? And if I can't get them to people, I can't sell my shoes, and if I don't make money, my family's going to starve. So again, the landscape is going to affect the ability to move goods and ideas. In some places where goods and ideas don't go, they just won't grow. Or you'll get some very interesting people that are cut off from society that will have very different views from other people because they just have been isolated. Mountains are an example. It still exists all throughout the world where you go to mountain regions. These areas are isolated. You go to places in Europe, you go to places in Asia, and even in America. People that live in mountainous regions, the Appalachian Mountains, the Scots-Irish in Europe, they're in places where they have been separated from ideas. They've been separated from goods. They've been isolated. Now, they're able to barely survive, or at least survive, but they're not able to thrive. And a lot of times they're isolated from education. Now, you might think, oh, what's the big deal? But if you go through hundreds and hundreds of years being separated from things that you can normally access. If I live in a city, it's very easy to go to the library. It's very easy to run into people, have conversations, spread ideas over and over and over for hundreds of years. You got to think that my kids are going to be smarter. My kids' kids are going to be smarter because we have access to more ideas. You put people in the mountains who are isolated from that over hundreds and hundreds of years, they do not advance. And so as one society advances, one group that advances, the other society does not grow. They do not develop different ideas. They become very distinct, very different. They develop different behaviors, whether those are good behaviors or bad behaviors. We see that in that people that live in mountain regions, because they are isolated, develop differently and have different cultural beliefs and behaviors. So again, we talk about different ideas, different government beliefs, different economics. They're all affected by the environment, by the landscape. It's strange to think. A lot of times we think that, no, the people in this world, we decide what's going to happen. I believe what I believe because it's me, because it's my family. And it's very hard for us to perceive that, no, actually, your beliefs are directly affected by the landscape, the earth, the nature that has affected what ideas have come to you, what have come to your ancestors and your ancestors' ancestors, and a lot of who you are and how you are in the economy of which you live in and the rights and responsibilities that you have, which we've talked about in other videos. A lot of that has been directly impacted and influenced by literally a mountain or by a river or by an outer bank. It is very interesting to go back and study geography and find out, whoa, I am who I am because of some random occurrence of sand outside of the coast of North Carolina. Access to transportation, we talked about this already. If you're close to transportation, you're going to experience more ideas. And over generations, the more ideas, the more thoughts, the better understanding you have of the way of life, your society is going to advance and probably treat people more equally and have more opportunities. Whereas if you're separated and isolated, you're probably not going to have access to these opportunities. So railroads and roads are a big deal in the development of a country. Canals as well in the earliest century. Canals are where we literally dig out the ground and make a man-made river. Like, what? A man-made river. Why would we do that? Because it's easier to ship goods. We don't do that anymore because we have railroads and roads. But before roads and railroads, we used canals to ship goods. And these are government affairs. These are big projects that really need to be done by the individual governments. This is not something that an individual can undertake on their own. Some states participate, and some states like North Carolina did not participate, and that's why you'll see some states grow and advance and become strong, economic, and also very equal societies, whereas some states that didn't embrace infrastructure and did not spend government money on advancement did not see into the future what was going to happen, and they become more stagnant, they don't grow, and sometimes they're not as equal of societies. Based on transportation. Access to transportation, communication networks allows for the movement of people, goods, and ideas. We get it. If I want to give an idea, so this is weird for us to think of today because I can get ideas to you through the internet. But before the internet, 16, 17, 1800s, if I want to spread an idea like you have the right to the freedom of religion or the right to speech, or I want to tell you about this guy named Jesus, the only way I can tell you about Jesus is if I literally travel to you. And that's what happened. We had missionaries, we had religious people who literally expand across the country on foot, on wagon, spreading the word of Jesus Christ. But if you didn't have a road, how do I get that idea to you? How do you know these things? So religion, ideas about government, ideas about belief, inventions, better ways to farm. Like, man, imagine all I've got is this old way of farming and it's taking me forever and I can't make any money. But over across the country, they've got this new idea, this new invention. If they could just come over and show me about that invention, I could farm really easily. I can make a bunch of money. I can make more food. And with more food, more people can survive and our population can grow and it's more jobs and everything gets better. But you got to get that idea to me. You've got to show me that new invention, but you need a road to get it to me. And then, of course, you have physical barriers that are getting in the way. The physical and human characteristics of a place may determine whether individuals or groups can or desire to migrate within or immigrate to another place. So the physical geography will determine whether I want to go there or not. I don't want to go to the desert. I don't want to go to a mountain. It's too cold here. It's perfectly warm here. It's 70 degrees every day. Let's go there. So physical landscape will determine whether people go or don't go. Also, the human geography, the human characteristics of, wow, I don't like the way those people think. I don't want to live there. Or, oh, I love those guys. Those guys are a lot like me. I should move to that city. So the humans, how the humans interact with that space or that area will determine whether you want to go to that area. The economy would be an example. There are a lot of jobs in that area. I'm going to move there. Or that physical location, they've not built roads. They have not created jobs. There are no jobs to go there. If I go there, I am not going to do well. So again, the physical and human geography will determine whether we migrate to it or not. Again, physical geography determined that people weren't going to move to North Carolina because of the Outer Bank, whereas people were more likely to go to Virginia and South Carolina because of the physical geography. Also, because of that physical geography, that led to more farming and economic opportunities, so that attracted more people in terms of human geography. But there also is another side to that, because no one wanted to go to North Carolina. So if no one wants to go there, the demand goes down, the price goes down, and so it becomes cheaper. And so some people did, but you're attracting a different type of person. So the people that did move to North Carolina were attracted to North Carolina because no one wanted it. So you pulled in people into North Carolina. It's a very interesting concept here. Again, physical geography and human geography can work together, and it shapes the development of specific states. So the premium places to go were Virginia and South Carolina, and because everyone wanted to go there because you could make more money and because there were jobs, the price was higher. Demand goes up, price goes up. No one wanted to go to North Carolina because it was much tougher. It's more difficult to make money. So demand was down, so price went down. So what happens was you attracted people that were cheap or were poor and that could afford it. So instead of bringing in high class, highly educated individuals, the lower class. And this is 100% true. This is not racist. This is not made up. The majority of immigrants into North Carolina were the Scots-Irish. The Scots-Irish were very poor. They were very uneducated. They were violent. They had a lot of poor tendencies. And when they left a place where they were already poor, the only place that they had the opportunity to go to was North Carolina because A, they could afford it, and B, because none of these other states were willing to accept the Scots-Irish. They didn't want them. They were frowned upon because, again, they were uneducated. They were violent. Basically, any kind of vice or bad habit that you could expect from a person, they had it. And they took it to them with them to North Carolina and continued it. Also in North Carolina, because no one wanted to go there, you also got people seeking religious freedom. People like the Moravians, the Quakers, who were not tolerated in these other states, had to go, well, where's the one place that no one wants to live? It was North Carolina. So over here in Western North Carolina, you got a lot of people seeking religious freedom because no one wanted them here in these premium states. So North Carolina seems to be this vacuum or this center of the place of deplorables or undesirables. The people that no one else wanted in America, they all ended up in North Carolina. Very interesting development based on the physical geography. Again, so like a lot of people want to live in California because it's 70 degrees every day. People want to live in the South because the weather's really good. A lot of people don't want to live in the North because it's cold, or some people don't want to live in places that get tornadoes. Some people don't want to live in mountains because they're isolated. Now, some people do want to live in mountains because they just love nature that much. The physical geography and then the human geography that is a result of that physical geography is going to attract some people and push some people away. We're rock and roll. 5 minutes left. So again, talking about human geography really here. Some places, some people may be attracted to America because of the religious freedom. Some Muslims may not like America because it's a strongly Christian country, and that might push some Muslims away. Just like you may not feel comfortable moving to the Middle East, where Islam is the majority religion if you're a Christian. So that is the job of human geography, right? How humans interact with that space. And in that space, the humans have mainly determined that Islam would be the main religion, and that would then affect the laws of that space. And that may not be comfortable for you. Different governments in different areas. Some governments are very overbearing. Some governments are very laid back, just within the United States alone. We're not talking about around the world, but you could talk about around the world. But within the United States, there are some governments that are more free, some that are less, some that charge more taxes, some that charge less taxes. That's how human geography, how humans interact with that space and create rules for that space, then attract some people and push some people away. You have traffic, but that also means that you have job opportunities, which pull people in, but traffic might push you away. Factories might bring you in, but maybe that'll push you away because you are more of a nature person who don't want to be around dirty factories. It's up to you. It's different for everyone, but at the end of the day, physical geography and human geography will affect. Hey, there's that Scots-Irish again that I talked about that came from England and settled in North Carolina. There it is, right there in a map. I'm not making this stuff up, folks. We can use the map as a tool or as in a language to explain concepts. Scots-Irish are not accepted or tolerated in any other lands, but also this is an affordable place for some not really rich people to go to. And you can see right here, I mean, the largest population of Scots-Irish habitate in North Carolina. Another part of that was, again, the physical characteristics may help you move. So the price helped. The fact that they couldn't go anywhere else helped. But also, we'll look and see that this area that they leave, the Scots-Irish, is a mountainous region. The area that they moved to in North Carolina is a mountainous region. Do I have it on the map? I was supposed to highlight it right there. I guess that didn't save. But if you look right here, North Carolina, mountains. They know how to live in mountains. They're used to living in mountains. A lot of people don't want to live in mountains. If you've never lived in the mountains, you're not going to move to the mountains. But if you're used to it, then you're going to move to it because you're comfortable and you can get something that no one else wants, which means the price is going to be lower. Easier by land. Simple. I mean, again, if you notice these patterns, they're not going to go right dead through the mountains. They're going to find ways to navigate through the mountains, and they don't stop in the mountains. The physical landscape is going to determine where you go. You don't stop in the mountains. You follow the path all the way to the end to these coastal regions where there's farmland, where there's easy access to the ocean. That's where people are going to live. Are you getting it? How the physical and human characteristics of a place determine where we migrate to still today. The human characteristics of America, there are job opportunities and there's many freedoms, and people are flooding to America. And physically, I would argue that we have some of the best land and plenty of flat land and plenty of places to live. And so people are still migrating here today. People are leaving Africa and parts of Africa where there are water shortages. That would be physical, geographical thing that is pushing people out. Some places along the coast where there is constant flooding and hurricanes is pushing people away. Human characteristics in Raleigh, North Carolina, Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill. You have the Research Triangle where the local government and state has poured in a lot of money and it's created a lot of jobs. It's an example of a human characteristic pouring people into this area. It's called the Triangle. A lot of jobs, tech jobs, and this place has really exploded over the last 50 to 60 years because the human characteristics, job opportunities, specifically tech opportunities, and ways to make a lot of money. And so people from all over the country are moving specifically to that part of North Carolina. And that is one of the reasons why North Carolina has gone from the Rip Van Winkle state that we talked about. The old man, we're asleep. Everyone else is growing and we're trapped in the carbonite. We are frozen in time. This is one of the big things that helps develop. Our state realizes, whoa, one of the things they realize is that we need to put money into education, start building roads. But one of the biggest ideas they do is, look, we need to create a forward-looking future society type of project that creates jobs that are going to exist not today, but jobs that are going to be important in the future. And if we get ahead of this and we start building up, people are going to move here. People are going to start building these businesses. And that's exactly what happened and led to an explosion of growth in North Carolina. There's other things that happened, other ideas that helped happen, but definitely the human characteristics made it a desirable place to migrate to. People moved out of the South in the Great Migration, mainly to avoid racism. So that's a human characteristic, but they also moved to these cities because of the human characteristic, which was jobs. Obviously, racism, human characteristic that was pushing people out. That's not physical, right? Racism isn't a mountain. Racism is the way that people act in a space. And there was more racism in the South that pushed people out, although there was still racism in these areas, but also job opportunities. There were jobs in that physical space. That was a human characteristic. More challenges. You get it, how weather affects our moving. Physical barriers affect the way that you move. And we will pick this up in the next video. Rock and roll, man.